Jesus left the city and went as he usually did to the Mount of Olives. Then he knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you will, take this cup of suffering away from me. However, not my will, but your will be done." Each year in the weeks leading up to Easter, the suffering and death of Christ on the cross are reenacted in countless passion plays. This year, the Edinburgh Grassmarket Project have begun work on a filmed version of The Passion. Like their other productions, The Passion draws on the real-life experiences of people on the margins of society. But it is set not in first-century Palestine, but in 20th century Leith.
I'd written a story about a man in a kind of zero position of poverty who tries to change the world.
He didn't know who the man was, but just the idea of a man who was part of the mafia in Leith, who would die, but somehow or other he wouldn't actually die, his heart might stop beating, that he'd come back to life, and that he'd be changed.
Now, I know I'm a tourist. I'm not a Leither, but what I've noticed there is there's a raw life, there's a raw truth, there's a raw connection that people have together. Yes, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of trouble, but there's some honesty that they have with each other that's fresh and spontaneous.
Jeremy set about casting The Passion in just the same way he'd recruited the cast of previous Grassmarket productions, by going out into the highways and byways and inviting people to throw in their lot with him.
I was 18 and I was working in a jeans shop. I always wanted to be an actress, but at that age, you sort of talk about it more than do it.
I was working in a bookshop in Edinburgh and really wanting to be an actor all the time, but I kind of put it on hold because I felt it was more important to know about myself rather than to just go to acting school or something like that.
I was working in London and, in fact, basically I met Jeremy in the middle of the street. He came up to me.
And he said, oh, what do? You can't just work here. I said, well, I'm an actress, actually. And I got a bit cocky, and he said, I can't believe that. He said, I'm a director. And I thought, all right.
And he went on and on and on.
About Fringe Theatre, the Edinburgh Festival, and Homeless, and had no idea what he was talking about.
He said, I'd like you to come and audition. And you hear about these sort of stories in films and stuff, and I just thought, all right, OK. But I thought, he's harmless. I'll give him my name and address anyway, and my phone number, and if anything comes of it, then it comes of it.
Yeah. And then a few months later, I had a phone call from him saying, I would like you to be in this play that I'm doing.
So I just packed my bags and moved up to Scotland within a couple of weeks.
But The Passion differed from Jeremy's past productions in one vital respect. This time, he was casting the saviour of the world. Just how and where would he find someone who could represent Jesus?
When he comes up with ideas, he'll come to me and say, what do you think of this? And he came to me with the first draft of The Passion and said, read that, what do you think of that? And automatically I read it and I said, oh, I know who could play that part, my uncle Alistair. I'm not saying he is the Messiah at all. It's the honesty and the innocence of what Alistair does and doesn't even realise it. I went to Alistair's flat one day and I walked in and there's all these beds, mattresses, covers, people all lying about. And I said, Alistair, what's going on? And he said, well, a few of the boys are nowhere to stay. I said, all right. I said, but do you know these people? He said, well, no. He says, but I'd hope someone would take me in one day if I needed it. And he doesn't lock his door. He just leaves it open for people to come in and leave. And he doesn't understand how beautiful that is.
At first, Jeremy resisted the idea of auditioning Alistair. But then one night, he and Lynn stumbled across Alistair in a pub in Leith.
I was a wee bit drunk at the time, I must admit. He came in and seen me anyway, and he took me outside and he had the video camera. And we had a wee blare about it. And he said, would you come down to rehearsals? I went, nah, not really, come in. He says, no, my cup of tea. Honestly, I couldn't do it, the nerves, whatever. But my niece says, come on, do it for me. And well, I've got a good relationship with my niece. So I said, right, I'll do it for you, but you have to be there.
And I found that Alistair, as a character, is living daily a kind of passion. He's constantly confronting himself with, can he live a truthful life? Should he lie? Which way forward? He has many responsibilities to many people he doesn't even know that well, who look to him as a kind of figurehead, who can perhaps show something, lead them somewhere, or do something for them. The reason why I select people just in a sometimes arbitrary way, people who other people would often avoid, is the fact that I want to bring these people into the spotlight in a way and say to them, your life is important and your experience is important, and let's actually show it. I'll help you to show it. And yes, this puts pressure on them, it puts pressure on me, but in a way, I think that's what's important about what I do, in that I'm bringing people who you wouldn't normally hear from into the spotlight and saying, listen to this person and watch what this person has to say and do, because it has some bearing on all of our lives and all of our experience. The other night when you didn't know what was going on, I sent in.
Aye, we bully that. Well, I've got...
In the weeks of workshops which followed, Alistair was encouraged to weave his own experiences, both of suffering and of redemption, into the narrative of the Passion. As in all Jeremy Weller's productions, the lines between reality and fiction soon became blurred.
That's where I turn round and I say, try to sort of cover up for him and say, look, that's my bird, that's my bird.
In this scene early in the play, Alistair draws on his capacity for violence and his experience of lost love, as well as his longing for a love that will last.
There's Tony. All right, Tony. What are you up to?
All right, how you doing?
How are you?
You'll be there, right?
Didn't be starting. I was going to say,
Turn away.
Ali, no problem.
Oh, you're chatting up. My
Don't be
friends.
stupid, eh?
What?
Start, Alistair, please.
You want a drink or no?
Ginseng.
Come with the boys. Drink with the boys.
What do you mean he's drinking with him? Oh, you're drinking with him.
What
Did you bring her in here for anyway?
Are you winding me up? Have you brought me in here to wind me up?
No, I ain't you brought me in here to wind me up. It's Mallow.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do then. I'll leave.
Don't do that.
Sorry, Ali.
Well, just go.
Let's get it.
Just leave, go. Aye, right, so you shut up.
Just go.
Aye, I'm sorry.
Here, Kenny's full of.
You looking at? You come a teapot, sir. See, if I was you, I would do me a favour and start dancing. Honestly, you ain't got my ticket. You dance. Dance. Dance! You dance!
Dance, idiot!
You just can tell. Just dance! You drinking me up? Well, if I was you, I would dance. Come on, here we go, let's dance! Get them in the middle! Get them in the middle! Dance!
Dance! Dance!
Sorry, we'll be
Come on,
singing.
dear.
Let's see! Let's dance! I'll show you how to dance! You want to dance? Come on!
It's Paul's get up him, Paul. Is it?
Oh, can't do
You're getting it!
Let's go.
You're getting it!
Well, social. Scared of you. Get me the door. I'm going to ask Paul. Honestly, I swear.
What are you up to?
Hey, what do you mean I'm up to?
What are you dancing with her for?
You the one want nice. I never nice. So we just had a party.
Ali, you dance with me.
No, man. Don't stop.
I love
No,
you,
man.
and you're making an
I love
idiot of
you.
me dancing with him.
Well, dancing, you don't want nice. What do you want me to do, like?
Get on your knees.
Do you want in front of my pals?
I love you. Get on your knees.
Don't stop.
Ali,
I love you. What do you want me to
shout
do?
it.
That's my pal.
Shout it!
I love you.
That's not enough.
I think it's quite appropriate that someone like Alistair, who's flawed as he is, represents the humanity of Jesus. Jesus represents criminals, the street walkers, the little thugs, as well as respectable people. He wouldn't be truly human if he didn't represent all people. And it's very, very interesting that Jesus is always perceived as being around with the people who are flawed, with the outcasts and the dispossessed and the marginalised and those who are seen as the scum of the earth.
I think that it's not difficult for anyone who in some sense is trying to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, to be identified with this kind of thing, because these were precisely the kind of people that Jesus knocked about with. The one reason why they killed him, of course, was because they said this man receives sinners and eats with them. If you're a hard man of Leith, then you have your own virtue, you have your own context, you have your own limitations, and what a challenge it is to try and create a passion narrative round such an unsympathetic character. And it may be that what people need to get their heads round is the fact that that could be precisely the kind of scandal that confronted the people in the first century, because they said, can any good thing come out of Nazareth? We know who this man is, we know who his father was, who his mother is, we know his brother. How can he possibly be saying all these extraordinary things to us?
And perhaps more significantly, implicit in the Christian understanding of what it means to be human is the possibility of change, an idea that is not exactly fashionable in Britain today.
The passion is about redemption, it's about forgiveness, and I think that as a society, and maybe in the world generally, rehabilitation, forgiveness, redemption are things that people are dismissing now, and they're saying it's no longer possible. There's only punishment, there's only containment. Alistair wants to do so much, but he is hampered by education, by circumstance, by other people's expectations, by the fact that he's a fighter and he has a fighting reputation. All these things hamper him. So no matter what he wants to do, certain people will always look at him and say, that person is beyond redemption, that person is beyond help, that person will never do anything. He struggles with that daily.
I know that not all the people Jeremy has worked with have been permanently changed, but I think it's at least given them a moment of affirmation and a kind of sense that they have lived a different kind of life to the one that was scripted for them. And so to that extent, he comes along and he tears people's scripts up and he says, you don't have to be confined to this particular text, this role that's been written for you. You can take some kind of charge of it. You can have a certain control over your own destiny.
Well, I'm still searching for myself anyway. I don't really ken who I am. But if there's a situation in a pub now, like, I actually think about the situation, rather than just go right in. I'm actually getting other people to think for themselves. Like, and if there's trouble in a bar now, like, I'll take one step back. Like when I used to take about 3 steps forward, I'll take one back and just basically not get involved. I'd rather walk away from a fight now. I mean, I could even probably handle getting punched and still walking away, which I would never be able to do.
How you doing, Hen? All right?
Hey, how are you?
Not too bad. What are you up to?
Hey,
Whether Alistair really will be able to tear up the script that's been written for him, it's too early to say. But that's certainly been the experience of many who have passed before him through the Grassmarket project.
Right, here we are.
Oh, Dad, this is terrible. This is terrible.
Now a playwright and actor, David Benson was compelled to draw on the difficult circumstances of his childhood while rehearsing Mad, the Grassmarket project's play about mental illness.
Mr. Weller asked me to talk about my experiences with my mother, who was mentally ill, schizophrenic in fact. And for me, it was a real chance to come to terms with some of the things that happened to me as a youngster. About why I came to be the sort of child who locked himself away in his bedroom, living in a fantasy world, rather than being out amongst other boys and girls of my age. And the reason for that was that I didn't want them to come home and see my mother in that state and to be embarrassed by her behaviour. So I kept it all very secret. My early years were all about secrecy.
Not just by you, but by everyone in my life.
And my life since then has been an unburdening of these secrets and getting rid of them as secrets and making them into plain, blatant truths so that nobody can attack me.
I'll tell you why you're here. Because you think you can save these people.
I had gone through personal problems, just struggling to prove myself. And at the time always trying to prove myself to other people, and also at the same time being very, very hard on myself and doing things like, silly things like, bulimia and all that sort of rubbish. But anyway, it was things like that controlled my life. I met Jeremy, and he was the first person that actually asked me questions about who I was. He wanted to know where I was going, what I wanted to do, and nobody had ever asked me questions that were so thought-provoking, and I didn't actually have any answers. And at this point, I just couldn't. I felt that I was actually going to learn so much from being involved in the type of work that he was doing that I just couldn't walk away, and I had to follow. I really did want to smash, question everything that I had been brought up to believe in.
I've brought you up. Can you not see that, Jessie? I love you. I feel embarrassed saying it in front of all these.
I was a very unhappy child. I was terrified of my father, and he died when I was 11. And I used to pray for him as a child to die, because he was a very violent man with my mother. It didn't get any better because my mum has a terrible taste in men. She then sort of had boyfriends, whatever, and I didn't like that either, and I ended up leaving the house. I started taking drugs quite heavily and got myself in a really bad way. And I know this sounds quite, I don't know, oh, Jeremy's a saint, but when he sort of came along, and he did, he reintroduced me into acting, and he said, this is what you want to do. You don't think you're capable of this. I'm going to give you the chance. And it is, Jeremy's work is about showing people, or teaching people again that they are worthy, and he did that for me. Because I think if I hadn't re-entered the acting profession, I'd be dead now. Yeah, definitely.
The past experience which Alistair most hopes to redeem is his relationship with his young son, who now lives with his ex-wife. In this scene from The Passion, his son is played by 13-year-old David Norris, whom Jeremy discovered at a local boxing club in Leith.
What are you doing here?
It's Saturday, it's my day.
No, it's not.
You should be in the house with your mum.
No, you said you're going to stop drinking.
You go home.
All you do is drink. You didn't even deserve to be a dad.
You're listening to your mother too
No,
much.
I'm not.
I'm telling you.
No, I'm not.
Didn't start that. Him.
Didn't start with me.
Get him.
No.
Move it.
No.
There's your tail.
No.
For a change.
No.
You're like your mother, I swear.
Like
Yeah.
I'm sick of you always lying to everybody.
Do I not love you? Like, is that what you're trying to tell me?
Aye, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Don't think so.
Just
go here with Molly, man. Come here. You shut up. Just go here, I'm telling you.
Come on.
Calm down.
No.
Calm down.
You're always lying to me and Mum.
Your mother's not wanting me home anyway, so I can't go home, I swear.
Dark as some scenes from The Passion may be, the script seems to hint at the possibility of resurrection. And over the years, that invitation to new life has been firmly grasped by many of those who've worked in the Grassmarket